Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to the third in this trilogy of tier lists that I'm currently making right now. It is the Marvel MCU whole thing, the whole shebang here, the MCU in its entirety. Now listen, I am a big MCU fan. I'm even an MCU fan to this day, even though the MCU is kind of fallen off a little bit, but it will gain some notoriety and will get back up if the right decisions are made. But the MCU's always had some good, and it's had some bad as well, but we're going to get into it. So let's just go right off the bat, starting with the first movie, Iron Man. And by the way, this is an incomprehensible list of as many things I could find that was related to the MCU. We don't have every single season of every single show except for the Netflix shows, technically. I just grouped Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in one and Agent Carter in one because we'll get into it, but yeah. And I tried to keep it in a chronological order, but there's some things that I just don't know where it should or could be, so I just grouped them all into one miscellaneous thing here. So let's start out with what is this? The first film that was released in the MCU, Iron Man. Now, for all those who forgot the Iron Man just absolute craze that was happening in 2008, it was real, okay? This movie basically revolutionized the character of Iron Man. Before this film, no one even heard of Iron Man, and yet it was so good and kind of revolutionized superhero movies, honestly, and redid a lot of the tropes, because a lot of this, superhero stuff, yeah, the secret identity and all that, but at the very end, Iron Man was like, or Tony Stark was like, yeah, I'm Iron Man, so roasted. And you thought that Pepper and Tony would get together at the end, but they don't. They don't necessarily get together. They eventually do. Let's be honest here, eventually they do, but that's why they're kind of considered the best romantic partners in the MCU up to this point, because yeah, they're not really together in the first film, and they won't be until, like, the Avengers, basically. I think this is a fabulous film. Is there some hokiness to it? Yeah. But that comes with every superhero film, honestly. But yeah, this is honestly just an enjoyable romp. And I wouldn't put it necessarily in S tier, but I will put it in A tier, because it's just that good, kind folks. And also for the one Eternals fan out there that's like, oh yeah, this film contains the first MCU sex scene or whatever. No, Iron Man did it first. Let's just be clear. The end. Okay. Now, onward to my headcanon. Oh, here we go. Hulk. Not the Incredible Hulk, but just Hulk 2003. Now, the reason why I put this in my headcanon, and it's technically part of the MCU, is because the Incredible Hulk basically summarizes the Hulk's whole origin story in like the first 5 minutes because of this movie. So you can kind of connect a few dots and say that, yeah, Hulk is in the MCU technically, because all the main characters are there. They're just played by different actors and actresses and all that. So there you go. This is my headcanon, and there it is. So, what do I have to say about this film? Well, the CGI on Hulk is surprisingly really, really good, especially for 2003. I don't know what the hell they did. I don't know if they used like actual practical effects along with the CGI effects, and that was the first time they used it or something. I have no idea, but a lot of the CGI is fabulous. That being said, that's basically all the good I have to say about this film, because it's chaotic and crazy. This is from the same director of Catching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And he basically is well known for not reading comic books, so he tried to make it a comic book-esque thing with comic book transitions. It did not work. What else? The story's lacking. He's trying to be a superhero, but he's not. I like the duality of his character, because that's what Hulk is, but it's not good. Okay, I mean, the actors and actresses, I mean, they're trying. Okay, they're trying their hardest with a really, really terrible script. But yeah, other than the good CGI in some parts, especially for 2003, I can't really give it a whole lot, so I'm just gonna put it in F tier. Yeah, unfortunately, it had to be this way. The Incredible Hulk. This movie is technically better. It's got Edward Norton in there, being Edward Norton, of course, dictating what his film should be or whatever and all that. Yada, 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 the whole shebang, whatever. Anyway, so The Incredible Hulk has a lot of things going for it. It's got Anti-Hulk, the Abomination in there and all that, because he's juicing up and all that. It's just kind of a stereotypical superhero film, honestly. I mean, while Iron Man kind of redefined the what it took to be a superhero film, The Incredible Hulk just played it safe. And you can really tell. And it's The Incredible Hulk. The Incredible Hulk is like, basically Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And while they technically did that, they didn't really go into like a lot of it. He just kind of, when he gets angry, he just gets into the Hulk, and then he's not the Hulk anymore. Whatever, it's just meh. Not the best, but certainly not the worst, as we've seen with Hulk. That being said, it is better than Hulk. I would probably put it... the CGI is fairly decent, and... Fight at the end was pretty decent. You did say Hulk smash, although it came out of nowhere. It's low C, high D for me, so I'm going to put it right here. Again, it's really hard to make a Hulk film, honestly. I don't know why. It's got a lot of potential. It's just, I don't know. Took itself a little too seriously, in my opinion. While Hulk took itself way too silly. You just gotta find that balance. You gotta find that perfect balance here. Iron Man 2. A lot of people hate this film. Rightfully so, because Elon Musk is in it, just like Donald Trump is in Home Alone 2. Yeah, there you go, I guess. But Anywho, they completely redefined what Iron Man was, basically, and just kind of did its own. It's kind of a mess, honestly. There's another guy with the suits that's the villain and all that, and instead of Whiplash, it was kind of the guy in the suit kind of giving him his electric whips and all that. And I, at the time, was watching Iron Man Armored Adventures when it came out on Nicktoons Network. For all those who know what I'm talking about, let me know in the comments, because that was actually a fairly decent show. It was like Tony Stark as a teenager, but you know. So believe it or not, I did know who Whiplash was, because he was like a big villain in Iron Man Armored Avengers. But he did not deliver, in my opinion, in this film. The only thing that makes this film even watchable is the greater MCU connections, which I just... Yeah, I mean, you see Tony Stark, you know, trying to crawl out of his depression and all that, and they kind of adapt the the one comic arc where Tony is like a drunk and stuff, and he's trying to get out of his alcoholism. It's like the biggest Iron Man storyline, and it just doesn't really deliver. It kind of glosses over and all that. Does get that triangle arc reactor thing, but other than that, it's kind of meh. So I would put it above the Incredible Hulk, but it's still D tier. It is borderline C tier in my opinion, because the effects are a lot better than in Hulk, the Incredible Hulk. But yeah, it's just kind of meh. The Consultant is a short, their first one shot, and it is as cheap as you can possibly make an MCU thing. It is literally just two guys in a diner talking, and it's the way it is. It's just kind of boring. It's not necessarily all that great. I wish it was more like another one that we'll talk about later on, but it's just two guys talking in a diner, and flashbacks from the previous two films, from the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man. Not Hulk. There was no connection to Hulk. But yeah, this is very boring. And the Consultant is Tony Stark. It explains how Tony Stark was the consultant in the Incredible Hulk, while also being not part of the Avengers Initiative in Iron Man 2. Still. There you go. And yeah, that's it. That being said, this is a strongest D tier ever, probably. I mean, oh gosh. It's just kind of boring. You can kind of skip it if you really want to. Yeah. Funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer. Notoriously, they had a budget for 2 shorts, right? And all the budget basically 90% of the budget went to this little short right here. And it shows. It's actually pretty decent, and I really enjoyed it. Can you skip it, though? Yes, you can. But is it worth the watch? Yes, because you get more Phil Coulson at his finest over here, okay? I mean, you got Phil in the previous short as well, but you got this other guy that's kind of bouncing off of him. This is basically fully Phil, okay? This is full Phil throttle, if you will. Absolutely awesome. He just kicks ass, and I love it, okay? I love it. Can you skip it, though? Technically, yes. but is it good? Yeah. So, however, it's not the best, so I would probably put it C tier. Just because I wanted more out of it, but it just didn't necessarily deliver a whole lot, in my opinion. Now, if you think differently, comment and let me know. But anyway, onward and upward, Thor. Now, this is the one that's pretty divisive among MCU fans. Some people love this film, and some people really hate this film. Apparently, Patty Jenkins was going to direct this film. That's why Natalie Portman signed on. And when Patty Jenkins left, she did not really want to be there anymore. And you can kind of tell, although she tried her best. Let's put it that way. She gave it her all, given the circumstances. But other than that, this film is really Shakespearean and actually really good. Thor, if you forgot, Thor used to be like a very, like, not necessarily all that goofy, but kind of Shakespearean, honestly. Cast down to earth because he's, kind of a ass, showboaty and all that. I mean, Anthony Hopkins. We got Anthony Hopkins in this film, okay? An Academy Award winning actor. He would win like a couple more after Thor, okay? After his role in the MCU was done, he would win a couple more awards, okay? So he wasn't just phoning it in. However, there are a few little things that are kind of meh, in my opinion. Like, for instance, the special effects weren't necessarily all that great in some parts. They are really good for 2011 in a lot of parts. But there are some instances that are kind of iffy, I guess. And then Kat Dennings is annoying as hell. She's more tolerable in this film than she is in the next film, but she's still pretty annoying. There's a lot of Dutch angles in this film for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe the director thought it was artistically pleasing or something, but it's just kind of distracting. And yeah, I like the rednecks. I like Stan Lee being a redneck, trying to just, like, I don't know, kind of testing their trucks and trying to just, like, get Thor's hammer or something. Like, they can, because they're rednecks. I love that scene. And all in all, this is actually not a terrible film. There is some critiques, but overall, it was pretty good. And you know what? A tier. It's below Iron Man, of course, but it's still A tier. And I really like this film. I'm one of those camps that are like, yeah, Thor is actually a pretty decent film. Now, Captain America: The First Avenger. There is a lot of CGI in this film. But there is heart and soul that comes out of this film that is resonant throughout the entire rest of the MCU. It's basically just amazing. And it's really, really good. The only thing that's not drops it down for me is the middle part. The middle part is basically Scott's Tots for me from The Office. If you guys know Scott's Tots, you know it's very cringy. Skinny Steve scenes, okay? Perfect. The end parts where he's fighting and, like, actually fighting in, like, World War II and all that, beautiful. Then there's these middle scenes where he's traveling around trying to sell war bonds and stuff like that. And then there's this army guy that shows his ass and all that. They tried to make it funny, but it is so cringe. I did not enjoy that at all. It was so just the most cringiest thing in the entire MCU. Ugh. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. And then the ending was just very bizarre. I remember being in the theater when I watched it, and I was like, what the heck is... What? Why did you end it right there? That is very bizarre. I don't know. I don't think they knew how to end this film because it's just very... It's very underwhelming, and it's like, oh yeah, you want to see what happens next, you gotta watch the rest of the film. And the end credits scene is just a trailer for the Avengers. It's very, underwhelming. So with that being said, I'm gonna put it in B tier. The stuff that shines really, really shines, don't get me wrong, but the stuff that's cringe really brings it down. And it's unfortunate because Captain America is probably the heart and soul of the entire Avengers, probably the entire MCU. So there's that. Agent Carter, the show, not the shorts. We'll get to the short later. But Agent Carter, the show, is the best thing ABC Avengers related has ever done. It is so good. I watch it periodically every so often, especially the first season. The first season is surprisingly really good. There's not a whole lot of CGI, and when there is, it does look like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and kind of low budget, but most of it's just sets. Most of it's just, Carter just trying to make her way in the world. And you know what? I really enjoyed it. I don't hate myself watching it. And also there's this other guy that was like a World War II veteran that, has to have crutches these days and all that. He was good as well. Jarvis, amazing as well. And we find out he's in Endgame, so they're tying it all together. Agent Carter's technically part of the MCU these days, so I'm including it here. And yeah, season 2 was kinda... It was a departure. They tried something new. I liked it. It wasn't necessarily up to par with season 1, because season 1 was just what I always wanted to see Agent Carter do, basically, as we saw in the Agent Carter one-shot thing. But it was still good. It was a departure, but it was still fairly decent. It still had that quality right there. I wouldn't put it in A tier, but maybe is my bias toward this show and the fact that it wasn't complete and utter ass at that point when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was complete and utter ass. But I'm gonna put this in B tier. Yep, I put it in B tier. If you guys have a problem with it, I don't know, sue me. It's my list, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, onward and upward, The Avengers. This film, oh my gosh. Everyone just... the entire internet, the entire world went up in a blaze for this film. The first real film, multi-million-dollar film, to include a bunch of superheroes from previous movies into one. My gosh. And I gotta say, it lives up to the hype, man. It is really, really good. The only thing that's really backtracking for me is that the shot composition, I don't know who edited this, but it looks like television sometimes. Like, it's very glossy. But other than that, that's it. That's all the real critiques I got. CGI is fabulous, especially for 2012. Okay, come on now. A lot of it still holds up. Loki's a fabulous villain. You see a lot of interactions that you kind of wanted to see from the beginning with Tony Stark, and especially as Tony Stark and Captain America, because, Steve knew Tony's father and all that, so they gotta get some interactions there. You get Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, this established Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, and all that. You get more Black Widow. You get Hawkeye, even though Hawkeye is kind of taken out of the film, basically. But yeah, it's funny, it's charming, it's witty, it's gut-wrenching, it's sad, it's depressing, but it's also full of life. It's just everything you want in a film, basically. And this was the third highest grossing film at that time. So that's gotta take something. That's gotta be something there. So for that, there's a couple nitpicks, but overall, I watch this movie all the time, honestly. I do maybe every 2 months just watch this film because it's just that appealing and that awesome to me. So for that reason and more, it's S tier. The most obvious S tier ever. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. If I did every season of this, we would be here forever. I don't really want to do that to anyone because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is kind of a train wreck. Especially the first season. Even though I got some nostalgia for the first season, it's not that terrible in my opinion. But watching it again, it's just kind of whatever, It's just kind of not good. It's just, we're going to put all these Marvel MCU movie references in there, but it's not going to affect, the show is not going to affect any of the movies, but the movies will affect the show. That's the most stupid thing I have ever even conceived of in my life. And I know it's all the Marvel control factor and all that, and I know there was a lot of behind the scenes drama with the executives or whatever, but still doesn't make a good show. Also, Phil Coulson is just criminally underutilized. I wish he was, brought back into the fold of the MCU because we're missing a Phil. We need a fill-in of Phil. A Phil-shaped hole in the MCU's heart. But apparently, Kevin Feige has said that Phil Coulson is canonically dead, and this show is not canonical with the greater MCU, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I will say this though. Season 3 or Season 4 or something like that, when they introduce Ghost Rider, that was peak level Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It still wasn't necessarily all that great, but it was leaps and bounds better than what they were previously doing, which was just boring. Season 1 was just laughably, hilariously bad. Season 2 was just boring. Season 3 got good in parts, but kind of fell to the wayside a little bit. In fact, this show ran all the way up to Infinity War and Endgame, and kind of canonically went into, Endgame and Infinity War and all that, which is kind of interesting. But still, it seemed like they were jumping through hoops because they had no idea what the hell the MCU was doing, so they had to kind of retrofit it to meet MCU logic. So yeah, but other than that, it was decent. Because of stuff like Ghost Rider being that good. Let me tell you, Ghost Rider is that good. Plus, they were trying different things with, like, inventing their own superhero, or superheroes, if you will, and introducing Inhumans, which, yeah, but Inhumans was actually a pretty interesting idea, in my opinion, at least. So for that, I'm going to put it in C tier. Many people would say, oh, it's obviously an F tier. But they tried. They tried to do stuff. We got more Phil. Phil is love. Phil is life. Okay. It is the bottommost C tier, though. At least in my opinion. But anyway. Slingshot. I have not seen this show. I've heard it's fairly decent, but I haven't seen it. As much MCU content I've seen, I can't find it anywhere. I think they wiped it because it's online only type of deal. I think it's on Disney Plus. I have to double check. But anyway, yeah, there's that. Item 47. This is a one-shot tie-in to Avengers. And this one's actually not that bad. This one's like taking some of the remnants of the budget of, I guess, the Avengers and kind of putting it into this one little short. It's about a couple who kind of use they use Chitauri technology to kind of rob banks, I think. And then there's the guy that's like, oh yeah, you guys got Chitauri technology, we need it back, but you guys used it so well, we're gonna introduce you into S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that stuff. And I believe there's an actual, like, actress, like well, everyone's an actors and actresses in this film, but a little short. But there was a person in this film, or this short, that was pretty well known. Let me just double check her name, because I don't know who she is, but she's been in some things. Lizzie Kaplan. Yep, Lizzie Kaplan. She's been in a few things. I think she's also been in New Girl. She was in New Girl. She had her own films and all that I've watched a few times. She's actually a pretty decent actress, and I can't believe she agreed to star in a short film for Marvel. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, this is probably one of the best shorts that they've done. I would put it above A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer. But I put it in low B tier just because of the production and all that. It's like they took, like I said, they took the remnants of the budget for the Avengers and put it into this short film. I don't know why, because no one really would see it, but there you go, I guess. Agent Carter. This short is very bizarre canonically with the MCU, because this show kind of contradicts this short, or this short kind of contradicts this show, where Agent Carter at the end becomes, because she went on a couple of missions or whatever, Howard Stark buys, I guess, the SS, what is it? The SSU or something, whatever the organization is before it's called S.H.I.E.L.D. And he makes S.H.I.E.L.D. with Agent Carter as like the head of it, basically, in this short film. And the show it's very bizarre. It's like there's different characters other than Agent Carter in this short compared to the show. It's kind of weird. But that being said, it's a great short. In fact, I would probably put it B tier above the show. Mainly because of the production. That's the only real reason. I mean, they got everyone back. It doesn't look like it's TV. It looks like the saturation looks a lot better and all that. It looks like film worthy. I don't know. I just like it. Sue me. I like the show too. It's just a tiny bit better. Tiniest of margins better than the show. So there you go. Iron Man 3. A lot of people hate this film. I personally really enjoy it. Yeah, there's a stupid kid who gets Iron Man tech at the end, but honestly, my gosh, man, Shane Black. This is basically a Shane Black film. They were doing like director films before like phase 4 with this film, and I think it works. It completes Iron Man's arc. If you just wanted to watch the trilogy, I don't know why you would just watch the trilogy, because there's the Avengers and all that, but yeah, it works. It works as a complete arc, a complete end to Tony Stark's character arc. We eventually get more, but it works for a trilogy, honestly. And yeah, I really enjoy it. Is it the best? No, there's another guy in the suits, and the Mandarin is not the Mandarin. I watched Iron Man Armored Avengers when it came out, and I even knew who the Mandarin was, and even I was like, what the hell is this guy? He's an actor, he's not the Mandarin? This is like Iron Man's, like, Venom. This is like Iron Man's Joker, okay? Why did you undersell this? But with that being said, I love the fact that Tony Stark has PTSD and all that. I love the fact that it's hilarious. It's gut-wrenching when it wants to be. In fact, he blows up all of his suits at the very end. So you're just kind of like, oh, wait, so he's not Iron Man anymore? But they're going to make more Avengers films. How's that going to go on? Anyway, though, I say this is great. This is a great film. Not the best. Not Iron Man levels, but it's certainly not Iron Man 2. Well, let's put it that way. I'm going to put it in A tier. Yep. Under Thor. Yep, I did it. I said it. All Hail the King. This is the last short one-shot that the MCU has created up until this point. There's a few that they kind of retroactively fit into one-shots, but we'll get to those when we get to those. But All Hail the King, I'd say, is a fairly decent short. It's not the best. I mean, you can take it or leave it. The only reason why they made this short is because there was such a vitriol backlash of the Mandarin and how they made the Mandarin in the MCU, that they were like, okay, there's a real Mandarin. He's out there. This guy's not him, but he's out there. So, yeah. We'll eventually find out who exactly he is later on. But, yeah. We don't see him for quite a long time. But with that being said, other than that one little aspect, this short is just plain. It's just the most vanilla short of this entire saga. So it's less boring than it is the Consultants, where they're just sitting down talking about films, about the what's going on in the films, basically. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in C tier, but below Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because it's kind of just the most vanilla thing the MCU's ever made. Thor: The Dark World. This is the most formulaic, garbage film that the MCU's made up until this point. And yes, I'm counting a lot of others. There's one that can probably take the spot as the worst. But this film, considered by me, is the worst thing at this point. The worst thing the MCU's ever made up until this point. They ruined space elves. How do you ruin space elves? But they ruined space elves. That's just an abomination here. They killed Loki again. I'm getting sick and tired of Loki dying all the time. All that stuff. The jokes don't land. They are very dry. The CGI is a lot better than the first Thor film, but it's not by much. Not by much. And there's this really stupid thing where, when the planets align, there's going to be portals and all that. The entire universe is going to be aligned in one line, and you can jump between worlds and all that type of stuff. They don't do that. They do it like once. That's it. And it's stupid. They should do that. It'll be like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness over here, okay? It'll be that insane, but they decide not to. Probably because of budgetary reasons, but still, you're gonna promise something, deliver. I mean, come on now. And there's a lot of stupid things in here. Also, nothing, like this entire film, nothing is mentioned again nothing's mentioned again in the entirety of the MCU until Endgame. I would consider portals to other worlds to be pretty high on S.H.I.E.L.D.'s radar, but they don't mention it. Okay. Whatever. The only thing they mention from this film is, the fact that Thor's mother dies in Endgame. But yeah, that's basically it, and how he has to get the hammer. Okay. But yeah, for all these reasons and more, I want to put it in F tier, but does it deserve it? I'm going to put it low D tier, but this is the worst. This is the worst, in my opinion, the worst thing that the MCU's made up to this point. Captain America the Winter Soldier is the best thing the MCU's made up until this point. It's very weird. They started out with their worst, but they just they got back up and they took out all the competition. They were like, yeah, okay, you hated this film? Get ready for this, because it's gold. This completely redefined the MCU up until this point. They basically said, yeah, Hydra's were in inner workings within S.H.I.E.L.D., and they destroyed S.H.I.E.L.D., which is something I never thought would ever happen, but they did it. And I was like, whoa. And it had occurring effects throughout the MCU, which is something that should kind of happen, There's an overarching universe. Things have to happen in the overarching universe. So there you go. Anyway, the characters are fabulous. Bucky Barnes back as the Winter Soldier and all that. Amazing. We got a little Skinny Steve reference late in this film. Awesome. More Skinny Steve, please. But yeah, and we see Peggy Carter being all old and all that, which is kind of depressing. We got a Black Widow back. It's just a fun film. It's not necessarily all that funny either, but there's some jokes. There's some jokey humor here that's not yuck, but, you know, it's kind of like a, oh, funny. Back to the more dramatic parts. But yeah, awesome. Awesome film. In fact, many people have done this before, but I'm no different. S tier, and it's above the Avengers. Yep, I said it. There you go. This put the Russo brothers on the map, basically, as someone who just makes quality television like Arrested Development or Community, and made them film director stars. There you go. All right. Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a film that, I gotta admit, is the worst of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. But that being said, it's still a really, really good film. It's a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. Like, not the storyline, but just the characters. Like, the entire film is just dark. And I'm like, why is it so, you know, dark? It's not really all that neon either. Like, when you think of Guardians of the Galaxy, you think, oh, it's neon. It's all these colors and all these brightness and all that. But here it's just kind of pea-stained yellows and crap browns and all that. And it's just kind of weird. But when colors do arrive, they do pop. Let me tell you, it gets a lot more colorful towards the end there. But yeah, it's kind of, the colors are kind of muted throughout the film up until they get together, I guess. But yeah, I love the character interactions. This is basically a pseudo Avengers, but in space. And this could have gone really, really bad, but with a director like James Gunn, it works. It works. It's a great film. Another great film. I'm gonna say this for a lot of these things coming up, but still, they are absolutely spectacular. And this film is also pretty awesome in its own right. I wouldn't say it's above Iron Man, though. I would say it's above Thor in A tier. A great film. It's basically this generation's version of Star Wars in all the best ways. And I'm going to take a drink. Okay, hang on 1 second. Apologies, guys. Got a little ASMR there. My mouth is pretty dry. Avengers: Age of Ultron. This, believe it or not, I believe built upon the first. It looks a lot better. It looks like less TV grainy and more film grainy, you know? There's a lot of jokes that you would be surprised, remiss if you forgot that there were jokes in this film, because it also gets really dark. It gets really dark. It gets what else does it do? It gets really dark, and it looks pretty dark, but there's a lot of jokiness in here too, which is not necessarily the best mixture of jokey humor along with the darkness. It's not that ironed out like it was in the Avengers, you know. That being said, it does, you know, if you take out the big bad villain, you kind of have to, it doesn't just wipe out the entire race of villains, you know. You gotta take out every single one of them. And then you get some new heroes in here. You got Wanda. You got the speedster. I forget his name. Not the Flash. That's DC. Quicksilver. There you go. He's not technically called Quicksilver in this film. Yeah, but Wanda Maximoff, you get this. You get the Vision in this. With Jarvis and all that. You get Ultron, which, by the way, I think is a really compelling villain. That's just me. It's probably the most compelling villain we got so far. Up until Loki. Just below Loki and all that. Yeah, I still say pretty good. Not S tier level, but still, it's not that horrible as people say. This is the worst Avengers film, but it's certainly not the worst film the MCU's made. Okay, it is A tier, but where do I put this? Because there are some issues. Don't get me wrong, there are some issues. It's overly long. It's kind of a little too complicated for its own being. It's a little underwhelming in certain areas. I put it A- under Iron Man 3. I know. Come at me in the comments. I don't care. Anyway, though, moving on. Ant-Man. The best of the Ant-Man films. Probably because Edgar Wright developed a lot of this. Yeah, he's a great film person and all that. But apparently, he was developing this Ant-Man film for a very long time. And the direction of the MCU kind of left without him. And he had to step down from creating this film. And I gotta say, a lot of the best ideas, I believe, may have come from him. I don't know. Who's to say? I wasn't there, so I can't really comment on that. But there's a lot of things that do work in this film. Like, for instance, the things that fathers will do for their daughters. That whole theme is chef's kiss. That is a great theme for this film right here. And it's just heartwarming. It's funny. It expands the world. It brings the MCU back to its grounded roots for the most part. You know, it's not a world-defining film like Thor: The Dark World or Avengers: Age of Ultron. You know, it brings it back to earth a little bit, which I gotta admit, this is kind of a refresher. It's kind of what the MCU kind of needed at this point. And it works. It works. So, and the jokes actually land. Yeah. Surprising enough, it's actually pretty funny. So with all that being said, I don't think it's A tier, but I would put it in between Agent Carter and Agent Carter here. Ant-Man actually is a pretty decent film. Not the best, but certainly not the worst. And we'll get to the worst, kind folks. Oh, we'll get to the worst. But yeah, so we're on to the Netflix season things and all that. Get ready for this, kind folks. We'll be here for a while. Deadpool, or no, not Deadpool. What am I talking about? Daredevil. Daredevil the film, or Daredevil, the first season of the show was fabulous. It was so good. And I can't believe that they haven't really integrated it into the MCU. Maybe they will. I don't know. But there's a lot of upheaval going on at Marvel these days. So anything's possible. They got the same actor back. But yeah, which by the way, the acting, chef's kiss. Chef's frickin' kiss, man. Absolutely beautiful. The effects, surprising enough, are pretty awesome. It's very little CGI. Surprisingly, and if there is a lot more CGI than I thought, then hey, it works a lot more. It got the hallway scene that is really popular with these Netflix Marvel shows. Gotta have that hallway fight scene in every single show, every single show, not every episode, but every show, you gotta have that fight scene for some reason, but it works. It does, in fact, work. I love the fact that, Matt Murdock, his first suit is just black. I love that. I wish he just kept that suit, honestly. But then he got the kind of stupid, Daredevil one that we all know and love. It's a little hokey in this show, or at least in the final episode. But in season 2, they kind of redefine it a little bit and make it a little bit better. A lot better than She-Hulk, am I right? Am I right? Anyway, I'd say this is probably one of the best things Netflix has made in conjunction with Marvel here. And it's so tight. The writing's very tight. The acting's very tight. In fact, dare I say it, you're going to be shocked when I put it here. S tier. S tier all day. All day, son. My gosh. All right. The second best thing that the Marvel MCU's made, Jessica Jones. I watched this show when it came out, the first season. It wasn't necessarily for me because there's a lot of SA in it, and the villain uses his powers to SA Jessica Jones, which is surprising. I did not expect that in MCU, and there's a lot more sexual content within this show than previously thought, which isn't necessarily bad, but it just comes out of nowhere. I mean, it's just kind of, it comes out of, a lot of stuff just comes out of nowhere, honestly, but it's still good. It's not Daredevil levels of good, but it's still really good. At least the first season. Second season we'll talk about, but first season is fairly decent. It's probably put in low B tier for me, honestly. The acting's really solid. You got the introduction of Luke Cage in this show, which that sex scene was pretty well timed, honestly, but there's some other sex scenes in this show that's kind of bleh, kind of not well timed. Just kind of there just to, give the TVMA rating or whatever. But yeah, honestly, this is the She-Hulk that we kind of should have gotten, which is a little bit darker and better writing. Should have been better jokes in She-Hulk. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to it. But yeah, this is the best woman detective superhero thing that the MCU's made at this point, which isn't saying much. It's like 2. So for that, I'm gonna put it in low B tier, above item 47. Surprisingly, it's just not my thing, but I will agree that it is fairly well made. Luke Cage. Now, Mahershala Ali is actually in this show for the first couple episodes, and that's all he wrote, because he kind of disappears in the middle, and then the show kind of falls down. But before that, the show was actually really, really good. But after it went off, it actually wasn't that terrible either. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. And Rosario Dawson, who's been in Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and basically all these Marvel, whatever shows, has a sexual interaction with Luke Cage which of course, I mean, who can't keep their hands off Luke Cage? Look at that guy. Anyway, but yeah, so Rosario Dawson, for some reason, I don't know why, maybe it's just have a little bit of problems with her hooking up with Luke, of all people. I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway, I guess it makes more sense, but still, there's some things I really don't want to get into about that. But anyway, Mahershala Ali's fabulous in this show, up until he dies, and then he's going to be Blade, I guess. Blade reincarnated or something. Luke Cage, he's really good in this show. The acting's pretty solid, of course. Directing, pretty decent as well. It's just the writing. The writing's a little more wonky here. And I don't necessarily enjoy that. It kind of is like, yeah, we did great things with Daredevil. Whatever, So, because of that, I'm going to put it in like high C tier. Because the writing got a little more wonky. It's not, it's not bad. I wouldn't call it bad, but it's definitely not Daredevil levels of good. Speaking of Daredevil, we get Elektra in Daredevil Season 2 and The Punisher, ladies and gentlemen. The Punisher makes his MCU debut in this show. Oh, ho, ho, yeah. Get a lot of interesting things in this show. It builds upon the first season. Here's the thing, though. I think the one thing... Now, of course, there's sex in this show, too. This season, too. Because, of course, I mean, you gotta have sex somewhere in this show. But... because I guess it's TVMA and, it's the darker MCU. So, I mean, there you go. But, all that being said, I think this show is still on par, and it would be S tier if it wasn't for one thing. And I get it, it's in the comics, but you can take things out of this adaptation that's, from the comics, like you did with Winter Soldier. That is, Elektra dies, but I don't know what she's doing. She's getting like reincarnated at the final bit of the show. And after that, I was like, what the hell? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's not a lot of... Yeah, they got Shintari technology, technically. Like a lot of the lower end people, I guess, still do that. But, I mean, come on. I find that bizarre because this is more grounded. This is more like street level superheroes, not, technology enhancing your life cycle type of deal. I actually would have preferred if she just died. Honestly, I'm not morbid, but honestly, and she was a good character, a lot better than the Elektra we got in the movies. Even though I love Jennifer Gardner, but honestly, this was really, really dumb. But that was the one stupid thing in this entire season, honestly. Everything else was just hitting on all cylinders. But I just really hated that one decision. Because of that, it's passing Iron Man and getting A tier. High A tier. Iron Fist. Look, this has been memed to death where Iron Fist is technically the worst thing that the Defenders universe, as we come to know, like the Netflix, Marvel universe, whatever, has made. And yes, it is. It's kind of insufferable, kind of boring. I don't really care about anybody in this show except for the one girl, his kind of pseudo girlfriend that's supposed to be his girlfriend apparently. Let's see here. Who was it again? Let me just double check. Colleen Wing. There we go. Colleen Wing. She's actually really good. And she's the only person I really care about in this show. Iron Fist can, I don't know, die. I don't care. He's very whiny, very annoying. He's trying to take back his father's company. Something we haven't seen in any of the MCU. But apparently this is happening. There you go. They're basically ripping off Batman Begins. Which, okay. I don't know, there's a lot of stupidness in this. The one saving factor in this show is Jessica Wing. Or Colleen Wing. I keep on saying Jessica for some reason, I don't know. Anyway, that's the one saving factor, and I love her, and I want her to be in her own show or her own film or something. Be her own character and something else that's better than this show. So for that reason, I'm putting it in low D tier, above Thor the Dark World, but the one saving factor here. Actually, no, I'm putting it above The Consultants. I put it above The Incredible Hulk. Yeah, I put it above The Incredible Hulk. Only reason. Because of Colleen Wing. We stand for Colleen Wing. Anyway. Jessica Jones. Season 2. This one's worse than the first Jessica Jones season. They just didn't really know what to do with this show after the first season. It's just kind of meandering, kind of going all over the place. They're trying. It's not working. The bad, terrible writing. Yeah, this one's gonna... It's not as bad as Iron Fist. But I'm gonna put it in C tier. Bottom of C tier. Because it's not good. Not good at all. Or it's not good. There is some good factors in here, like the acting, the directing, cinematography, and all that is still fairly decent. But there's just the writing. It's just taking a huge factor away from this. Anyway, the Defenders. There's some good in the Defenders. There's also a couple bad. They have Sigourney Weaver as the big bad guy, which I gotta say, perfect choice. They make Iron Fist not insufferable throughout the entire show, which I gotta say, good going there. Yeah. They introduce everyone to each other and all that. It's pretty fun. But then there's the very end of the show. Again, the final episode that's just kind of goes out on a whimper. I don't know. I didn't personally like the ending. I just wished it was a little bit better in my opinion, but still. I would put it above... I put it in B tier. Honestly, it's got that hallway fighting scene. Again, I put it above Agent Carter over here. Again, not bad. Certainly not the best either. And there you are. Daredevil Season 3. Oh, gosh. Going out on a high note. I don't know who the hell was creating all these shows, but all the writers in Daredevil, they need to be on these other shows, man. They needed to be on these other shows because they were just whimpering out. But Daredevil Season 3 went off on a high note. It had a lot of people just abandoning Matt. Matt kind of going back to his Catholic roots and all that. Matt, or the girl, I forget her name again, but she's getting addicted to pills, which was foreshadowed in season 2, but, you know, all that type of stuff. It's just a fabulous show. It's a fabulous show. The best show that they've made. The best show that Netflix Marvel made. I would put it just below Iron Man, though, because and I get it, it's not their fault for this, but the reason why it's not like A tier, like higher A tier or S tier or whatever, is because there's a lot of it kind of goes out on not the most satisfying ending, and it kind of leaves room for like season 4 and all that, which they would not get, unfortunately. But you can squint your eyes a bit and say, yeah, this is a pretty decent note to end on, and it's kind of a good, kind of a satisfying end conclusion here. But yeah, they were trying to set up, like, I think they were trying to set up like a Defenders season 2, but they just never could, and it's unfortunate. Maybe they'll get a Defenders season 2 on Disney Plus, but as of now, I don't think that's going to happen necessarily, which is disappointing and sad. Luke Cage season 2. This one was the worst. This one's the worst Luke Cage season. However, I don't think it's as bad or as boring as Jessica Jones season 2. It's, again, the writing. The writing's on the wall that these seasons were going to probably be their last. And it wasn't good. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you. The acting's still good, but there's just the writing. The writing's bad. All hail the king. There you go. Iron Fist season 2. This is better than the first season of Daredevil or Iron Fist. But still, it's not going above D tier. It's going above Iron Man 2. It's just, yeah, it's just not fun. It's just kind of there. It's not, yeah, that's basically it. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about that. Everything from the first season, just move over to the second season, but just make it a little bit more tolerable, a little bit better. That's Iron Fist season 2. There you go. The Punisher. We finally get the Punisher, this is like Daredevil reincarnated. Like the second best thing Netflix Marvel's made. Third being Jessica Jones. But yeah, The Punisher, fabulous show. It's really dark, really gritty, really good. However, there's a few different things in here that kind of makes it a little, not really my taste in my opinion. Mainly the darkness. And I get it, The Punisher's dark. But it's so dark that it makes it a little less fun for me. And again, my own personal feelings. But yeah. I just wish it was a little bit more light. Might be like Daredevil, you know? Daredevil, it's dark, but it's also got a little bit of light in there. But yeah, Punisher, still high A tier. Above Guardians, but not above Daredevil Season 3, in my opinion, at least. Jessica Jones Season 3. Writing's on the wall. Not that great. A little bit better than Season 2, but again, not that great. Put it in C tier. Enough of that, I guess. Punisher Season 2. This one's a little bit better. This one's better. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I had the nostalgia factor of like, yeah, I knew this was the end of the Netflix Marvel run, but I don't know. Maybe I have nostalgia goggles or like whatever goggles you want to say I had. Maybe I have it. But I'd say this is better than The Punisher Season 1. Just slightly. So I would put it slightly above The Punisher Season 1. Not there. There you go. Also, just so you know, I doubled The Punisher Season 2 because I thought I didn't have it here. But we're just going to ignore that when we come to it. Captain America Civil War. Back to the movies. Back to the grind, if you will. This is Avengers 2.5. But it's Avengers 2.5 done extremely well. There was a lot of critiques back in the day, and I remember this. You know, other than the Avengers, the MCU doesn't really cross over with anyone else, you know? Well, why can't we have Iron Man and Captain America kind of teaming up or doing something together, you know? We got it, finally. With Captain America Civil War, we finally got it. That being said, we get the introduction of Spider-Man, which I gotta say, I was expecting because they put him in the trailers. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but when it did, I was like, oh, here it is. Here we go. Queens, New York. And we got a little bit of a thing with Ant-Man, like a little bit of an Easter egg there. But still, it is so... But still, oh, man. Tom Holland, probably the best iteration of Spider-Man, in my opinion. He's the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He can do both. Just awesome. Awesome. And the introduction to Black Panther. I mean, come on now. Come on now. Awesome. Awesomeness. They introduced 2 fan favorite characters in Avengers 2.5 while still being a Captain America film. You can still say that this isn't a Captain America film because it focuses on Steve Rogers and Captain America slightly more than anyone else. I gotta say, for all those who don't think the Russo brothers can direct, and the writers in Marvel can't write, look at this film. Look at it. It is an huge achievement. Is just amazing. It's amazing achievement. It's going in S tier, don't get me wrong. It's that great. But is it better or worse than Winter Soldier? I think I'm going to put it just slightly below Winter Soldier. Mainly because Winter Soldier is a little bit more focused. It's got less-ish characters and focuses more on Steven. We got Skinny Steven here. Okay, there you go. That's why. Skinny Steve's in here. S for Skinny Steve. There you go. The Inhumans, I have watched this show. It is the worst thing the MCU has made. By a long shot. It is unequivocally garbage. The CGI is terrible. The writing's terrible. Everything is terrible in this film. Or in this show. The one thing that the Inhumans is known for is that they live on the moon, but they transport to Hawaii for some reason. Why would they do that? Why? That is stupid. It's utterly stupid. The only reason why they did that is because they didn't have the money to put them on the moon all the time. Plus, the big dog is stupid. I hate this show. This show has so much potential. It was going to be a film, but they retroactively fit it into like an ABC show, and it sucks. There's a reason why it's not made into a film. It's because it sucked. F tier. Oh, under Hulk. And you gotta really try to be worse than Hulk. And they did. And it's bad. Doctor Strange. This film is pretty good. It's not the best. You got, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, of course. You get his whole character arc and all that. You get some jokey humor. He's basically the doctor version of Tony Stark. You get some timey-wimey craziness to it, too. Inception levels of stuff and all that. The villain is played by a great actor. I forget his name, but he's a great actor. He was Hannibal in Hannibal. Yeah, but I gotta say, other than him just trying his best with what he's got, he's not really all that memorable either. So, take for that what you will. But yeah, so there's a lot of really weirdness to it, like Inception levels of weird, but it's very few and far between, and we kind of get, and I get it, right? He's becoming Doctor Strange, so you're not gonna see a lot of timey-wimey stuff, but still, it's just, could be better. It could have been a lot weirder, a lot more bizarre. But instead we got just this. And the weirdness factor with Doctor Strange is great. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Come on now. Great. Fantastic. But that being said, without all the weirdness to it, it's just a mediocre reinterpretation of Tony Stark and Iron Man. So I'm going to probably put it in B tier. I'm going to put it above Captain America because I like the weirdness. But it could have been better. Let's put it that way. I Am Groot, these shorts. These shorts are adorable. They don't really add a whole lot to the MCU, but they don't necessarily need to. This is just most adorable thing in this entire run. We got shorts on how Groot got out of his pot. We got a short where Rocket comes back and he wears like old man reading glasses, and I'm like, oh, come on now, awesomeness. Now I gotta be fair, the CGI on Rocket is a little iffy, but other than that, it gets really cartoony, and I'm all here for it. It's cute, it's adorable, it could be a Disney Plus show, but it's not for some reason, I don't know. It's stupid, it's hilarious. I Am Groot, great show. For some reason, they don't put it together. They didn't release it together. They just released it as shorts on Disney Plus for some reason. I think they grouped them together now, but I'm not completely sure that they did, because I watched season 2. I think that was grouped together, but that was like a year ago, I think. I don't know. Time's weird, ladies and gentlemen. So this one's fairly decent. I wouldn't say it's high art though, so that's why I put it probably in between Captain America and Agent Carter right here. Not high art, but still enjoyable, to say the least. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, my gosh, man. What the heck? People either love or hate this film. I adore it, okay? The whole thing with, like, the fathers and all that type of thing. Like, Peter Quill, elevating his character and all that. Baby Groot. Are you kidding me now? You kidding me right now? Come on. You can't expect me to believe that there's this much creativity in this film. Come on now. Kurt Russell as Ego, the Living Planet. Ego the Living Planet is in this film. Taserface is in this film. Howard the Duck makes another appearance in this film. Cosmo, the cosmonaut, whatever, the dog, he's in this, or she, I don't know. They're in this film. It's hilarious when it wants to be. It's dark when it wants to be. It's amazing. It's a great film. That being said, do I put it in S tier? Because I enjoy it so much. And I think it's really well crafted. I do. S tier. Sue me. Whatever. Many people will not agree with this. I don't care. I find the most enjoyment in this film. This is Guardians of the Galaxy fully realized. And there you go. The Runaways. I have seen, I believe, the first half of the first season, but I didn't really get back into it because there wasn't really a whole lot to it. The Runaway, I mean, it was a good show, but at the time I wasn't really an MCU fanatic. Or I was an MCU fanatic, but I was more like a timeline MCU fanatic. And I was like, what the hell does this have to do with the greater MCU? So I put it to the side, and I haven't watched it all, but I plan on doing that later on before May, I guess. I don't know. Cloak and Dagger. I've actually seen this show. This is a very, very ABC Family show. Let me just put it out there. I think it's the best ABC Family show they've made. And I've seen a lot of ABC Family shows and original films that suck, let me tell you. Secret Life of the American Teenager, anybody? Whoo boy! But anyway, where I put it though, I probably put it below C, above Luke Cage, in between here. I mean, I like the love aspect of it. I like the whole thing there. I like the whole, they're basically one and the same and all that. That's fine. It's just, it could have been better. If it was on Netflix or something, it could have had a bigger budget and all that. I don't know. It could have been better. Let's put it that way. Spider-Man Homecoming. Basically, Iron Man 4. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming. Basically putting the John Hughes-ness into Spider-Man. Something that we've been lacking for a long time. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I can't wait until Spider-Man's Peter Parker's an adult. He was a high schooler for a really considerable amount of time in the comics. And those are some of the best comics in Spider-Man history. So I don't want to hear it. Okay, come on now. Anyway, Spider-Man's a high schooler in this film. Fully high schooler. He's a sophomore in high school. This film is really, really good. It's very consistent. However, it's lacking a little bit of the Sam Raimi-ness to it, Like the silliness, the comic booky-ness of it, But yeah, we get a lot of interesting things, like what would happen if Spider-Man wasn't in the city and he's just in the park? He can't swing on webs. He just gotta run, basically. And he has to deal with growing up. He's got to deal with going to other lands and all that, like Washington, D.C. He goes to Washington, D.C. in this film, too, which is kind of foreshadowing for what's about to come. We'll get to that. But, yeah, honestly, a fairly decent movie. If I were to say that Spider-Man 2 is the first Spider-Man Sam Raimi films were 10 out of 10 films, I would say this is probably like a 8 or a 7 in comparison to Spider-Man lore and all that, you know. Greater connections with the MCU-ness with Happy Hogan, with Happy or whoever being in this film too and all that, kind of being like, Spider-Man, shut up, leave me alone, you know, the cranky old Gus. Tony Stark being in this film too, pretty great. It's more down to earth, surprisingly, than most other MCU films. It's a John Hughes high school film. And yeah, I'm all about it. Also, Michael Keaton as the Vulture. Come on now. Come on. How can you be that awesome? Come on now. What the heck? Anyway. I put it in A tier, but where in A tier though? Between Daredevil and The Punisher. There you go. That's my ranking. Black Panther. There's decentness within this film. This film tackles a lot of stuff, a lot of existential stuff. Deals with a lot of things. The director, I believe, was a fabulous choice for being a director in this film. T'Challa, great character, being Black Panther and all that. Black Panther's sister, I'm all about. She's just like all kitty and all that, but still kind of being an adult and all that. I don't know. I just like that charm that she has in this film. And yeah, everyone in this film just soars to greatness with the acting. The direction, fabulous as well. Writing's a little iffy. In certain points. There's some points where it's fabulous. Especially with Michael B. Jordan coming in and all that. Great. We get the, I guess, the whimpering of Andy Serkis's character in this film, which he was introduced in Age of Ultron, but he's kind of taken out unceremoniously in this film for some reason, even though he's kind of like a big bad guy in Black Panther, but whatever. Multiverse. Get him back through the multiverse or something, I don't know. Anyway. Michael B. Jordan's great. It's a very tragic story. There's a few jokes in here that land. Doesn't take itself entirely too seriously, but it gives a lot of pathos and a lot of drama that's just beautiful. Just beautiful work. CGI is a little iffy, especially in the very end where it's just a CGI fest and you can tell. But yeah, the writing there is not necessarily all that fabulous either too. So yeah. So, with all that being said, I'd say this is A tier, but I put it below Guardians for me, at least. Because, yeah, Black Panther is amazing. It was like James Bond-esque too. It was a superhero film. It was a kingdom film. It was like a political thriller. It was like all these films combined, and it did it to the best of its ability. I love it. Thor Ragnarok. This is the most jarring out of all the films on this list, in my opinion, because everyone was just going crazy for this film because it reinvented Thor. Because now Thor's a Joker, and I get it, Thor made some jokes in, previous films, but he was like a Shakespearean type of person and all that, very serious. And here he's just cracking jokes, cracking whims, if you will. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily. I personally enjoy it. It's just kind of whiplash going from the very serious Thor from Thor or Avengers Age of Ultron to now Thor 3, like Thor Ragnarok and all that. Kind of jarring, but after you get off of that, it gets pretty decent. It gets really good. Especially when Thor loses his hair. I gotta admit, I'm completely straight, but I go for him. Come on now. That's a man. Anyway, though. Thor Ragnarok, great. They do a lot of interesting things, like introduce, I guess, people on Asgard that aren't superheroes, and they're just people, which is kind of interesting. But, you know, they do a lot of things like destroy Asgard, introduce Helena, kill off Anthony Hopkins and all that, make Thor basically, you know, the big baddie without having to have his hammer, even though his hammer's like destroyed and all that, you know, that type of thing. Interesting. Very interesting character work. It's very, very funny. And it's also very, very dark. This is probably the most dark Thor film of all time. Also, that rock monster, peak comedy right there. Awesomeness. I would probably put it below Spider-Man Homecoming. It's just that good, in my opinion. Anyway, Team Thor Part 1. I'm just going to rank these just back to back to back because they're basically kind of the same thing, except different jokes and all that. So Thor moves in with Daryl, a complete Taika Waititi invention here. And it's absolute gold. These things are absolute gold. Thor's in the first two, like Team Thor, you know, and then there's Team Daryl when he moves out of the apartment and tries to get another housemate, if you will. But his housemate is not the collector, but the stage master or something, like oh gosh. Why can't I remember these names? All right, who's in Jurassic Park? Jeff Goldblum. Why do I keep on forgetting fabulous actors' names? Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum's his new housemate and all that. Hilarious. These are by far the best one-shots in the entire run. And they kind of retrofitted them because they were actually online on YouTube, but I think they took them down and put them as one-shots because they're just that good. They're just that good. So, Team Thor Part 1, I probably put low A. Part 2, low A. Team Daryl, I probably put above all the rest. Just kind of like there. But yeah, there you go. Avengers Infinity War. We finally get Thanos. Finally. After so much time, so much build-up, we get Avengers Infinity War. This is a monumental level filmmaking right here. The Avengers lose. Half of them are like gone and dissipate. A lot of tragedy, a lot of jokes, a lot of great lines, a lot of great meme-worthy lines. Bring me Thanos. Ladies and gentlemen, hype was real. Bearded America, bearded Captain America. Okay, come on now. blonde Scarlett Johansson in this film. Come on now. The Avengers are split up. One in Titan, one team in on the ground level in Wakanda, where there's a war and a battle and all that. The Infinity War, if you will. Amazingness. Awesomeness. All around awesomeness. And yeah, it lived up to the hype, lived up to the promise. I'm putting it... This is probably the best Avengers film, my personal opinion. Above Civil War. There you go. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Now, this is not in any connection with Edgar Wright at all, and it shows. So, yeah, this is a film that brings it back to Earth as well, and dives a little bit more into the quantum realm and quantum energy and all that stuff and whatever, and getting more phi than psi here. It was more phi than psi before, but there was some science to it, but it's more phi than psi, and we'll get to the phiest of all psi in the later film, but still. Here we get the Wasp and all that. We get Ant-Man under house arrest and all that. It's fine. It's certainly not the best anymore. It's continuing to go down. The jokes, a lot of jokes land. A lot of jokes don't. But I will say the invention of Ghost. I love Ghost. Ghost is an incredible idea, incredible character, and she's implemented here really, really well, in my opinion, at least. And yeah, it's kind of like the Incredible Hulk, where she can't really control her powers and all that, so she kind of has to do what she has to do and kind of do some bank robbing or whatever while she does her thing or whatever. And this is also where Michael Douglas. So Michael Douglas was pretty decent in the first film. This is the film where he started to not necessarily care a whole lot. And it shows. Evangeline Lilly, she's trying. Paul Rudd, still pretty great as always. But yeah. Cassie's still great. Lawrence Fishburne's in this film. He's trying his best. It's just the script is just kind of bad. Michael Peña's not that funny anymore, especially compared to the first film. And yeah, that's all I can really say about it. It is C tier. Nah, it's D tier. The effects are pretty decent, but it's just not up to par with what it could and should be. Captain Marvel. A lot of people hate this film because it's like, oh gosh, it's woke Disney, woke Marvel or something, but honestly, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not good, or it's not the best thing, but it's certainly not the worst. It's more like they're going back to phase 1, where they're trying to figure itself out, where it's kind of weird. You would think that they wouldn't necessarily do that for Captain Marvel when they're trying to figure things out. They're trying to figure things out for Captain Marvel? Why would you do that? Yeah, anyway. So, maybe it's because they think, oh, well, this one's going to fit in between Iron Man and Captain America 1. So, when people are watching this in timeline order, we got to make it consistent with that or something. But yeah, it's kind of stupid. Reasoning there. The special effects with Samuel L. Jackson, kind of de-aging him, I think is the best de-aging we've gotten so far up to this point. Because Samuel L. Jackson can play, like, what, a 30-year-old when he's, like, 60? I mean, come on now. That's de-aging at his finest right there. Phil Coulson makes his return. Gotta stand Phil. Also, this is where Nick Fury loses his eye in the most hilariously stupid way. The last time he trusted someone, he lost an eye. So he trusted the cat. And he lost an eye because he trusted this cat. Or this Grogan, or whatever the hell he is. No. I refuse to believe that. I'm sorry. Just no. Just no. And it's the most inconsequential thing. I think they just had like a quota they had to meet, and they were like, oh shoot, we gotta show how Nick Fury loses his eye in this film. Here we go. Anyway, Brie Larson, I don't think she's that bad in this film. Many people think that she's terrible. I don't think she's necessarily terrible. I think she's just playing stoic because the directors were saying play stoic, and she's playing stoic. There you go. And yeah, other than that, like the scrolls are pretty decent, but unfortunately, that's not really a big thing later on in MCU timeline or whatever. That's gonna be great. But anyway, I like it. Not the best, but certainly not the worst. And because of that, I'm gonna put it in mid B, below Ant-Man. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, Avengers Endgame. This film basically took all of our expectations, not only shoved them out the door, but delivered it and then some. I mean, it was a literal roller coaster throughout the entire 3-hour run. It felt like it was 3 hours, but it felt like 2, because it was just balls to the wall awesomeness. Just awesomeness. Amazingness. And all that type of stuff. So yeah, I can't really go into a whole lot more detail, because we'll be here. I've been talking for like a little under 2 hours right now. We'll be here for another 2 hours if I went into every single detail in this film. I loved Fat Thor. I loved the fact that they made Thor the Dark World just a little bit better. I love the fact that Captain America gets the hammer, like gets Mjolnir, holds that when they were foreshadowing that with the Avengers, Age of Ultron and all that. Greatness. Fabulous storytelling. They kept every character together. There were jokes. It had pathos. It had just drama seeping through its seams. Just amazingness. However, that being said, no. Not being said at all. I would say this is above, a lot of people put it below Infinity War. I'm putting it above Infinity War. Infinity War is still great, and technically it may be the better of the two, but Endgame just is peak Marvel, in my opinion. It's everything we wanted and then some. It was the highest grossing film of all time until Avatar took it back, but still, just amazingness. it probably will take it back when it gets a re-release if Marvel steps up its game. But, you know. There we go. All right, how much more do we have here? We got a little bit more. Yeah, got a little bit more here. It's probably going to be another hour, kind of, folks. Just fasten your seatbelts. So, Spider-Man Far From Home. You take Spider-Man out of New York City into Europe, and you get that. And you get the aftermath of the snap. You get what else you get? You get Spider. You get Peter Parker kind of falling for MJ, not Mary Jane, but Michelle Jones. There you go. Yeah. People think that this film is bad because you take Spider-Man out of New York. You know, what are you doing with yourself? I kind of enjoy it because we haven't seen Peter Parker anywhere else besides New York City. You think because he's an Avenger, he would be in other places other than New York City. And he does. He goes to Europe and all that. He meets Mysterio, which, by the way, Mysterio, awesome. Awesome villain. They're using the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery to their finest right here. Greatness. Greatness. That being said, I don't think it's better than Homecoming, but it's still really good. It has that John Hughes humor here. It's got more pathos to it. Pathos. Yeah. All in all, great film. And I would put it below, but I'd probably put it in between Punisher Season 2 and Season 1. Yeah, I'm doing it. There you go. Loki Season 1, which is technically the next thing after Far From Home or something like that. Technically, I don't know. I'm mixing it up a little bit, kind folks. Anyway, Loki Season 1 had the first fluff, like just padding out the time frame, in my opinion, with this one episode in the middle of the season. That's when cracks began to show in the MCU. Was when this one episode became just fluff. Other than that, though, I really enjoyed this first season of Loki. Is it the best by any stretch of the imagination? No, absolutely not. It did hold my attention, and apparently I was watching it with my family, and a few of my siblings and my mother were like, it's kind of boring. It's not holding my attention, but it held my attention pretty firmly. It was kind of interesting to see their reaction too, because we were watching it at the same time with everybody because of lockdown and all that. But it didn't keep people's attention spans, and apparently this is, which is shocking because I thought that this season wasn't that bad, at least in my book. But yeah, it is technically whimpering out, and yes, we get Jonathan Majors as Kang, although we probably won't get him as Kang anymore because of some bad things he did in the past, now that the courts came out and accused him of what he actually did. Anyway, though, I loved he at the end of the world, or he who shall not be named, or whoever he is, supposed to be in this show or whatever. He's just nonchalant. he's keeping the timeline in order, but then the timeline fractured. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. And it answers the question, is in Endgame, is it a time loop or is it branching off in different universes? It was a time loop, but it's branching off in different universes now. So there you go. That being said, I put it in probably high B, below I Am Groot. It's still pretty decent, but it could have been better. Like WandaVision. Now this show deals with a lot of Wanda and Vision's, the whole stuff and all that. Vision's dead. In fact, he was probably the only character not in Avengers Endgame, surprisingly, because, he's dead. But it deals with Wanda dealing with her grief and all that, having to go to this small town and kind of retrofit it into TV shows and all that, while also retrofitting the fact that she's sort of a mutant, even though mutants don't necessarily earn the forefront right now. Quicksilver from the X-Men universe is in here, but he's Ralph Boner. That's the only thing that's kind of in this show that's kind of iffy to me. Other than that, this show is fabulous. This is the peak level Marvel. Peak level Marvel right here. Deals with a lot of different styles, a lot of different sitcoms and all that. It's amazing. It's an amazing show. And it's a mystery. What is going on in this small town? What's going on? How is this happening? All that type of stuff. Get some recurring characters back. Greatness. The best Disney Plus show Marvel's done. That being said, I'm going to put it in A tier. Above Iron Man. Yeah, I said it. Above Iron Man. There you go. And we get introductions to the witches. So she's technically a witch, I guess, but she's also a mutant. Very weird. Anyway, though. Black Widow. You finally get a Black Widow film. Underwhelming, to say the least. Fairly boring. Villain's bad. Black Widow's character arc is pretty bad. It's just overall just kind of meh, bad. The only thing that's kind of worthy of note here is her sort of pseudo family with Red Scare or whoever he is with David Harbour. He's pretty good. He's like the Soviet version of Captain America. And that's pretty good, I gotta say. He's pretty decent. He's probably the best thing in this movie. Him and Florence Pugh, actually. Florence Pugh is actually pretty decent as well. But other than that, it's just another CGI schlock. It's supposed to be spy thriller, but it takes place in the sky. Why? Just why? That's not a spy. That's not espionage. That's not Black Widow. That's like Superman or something. I don't know. It's very out of left field here. Also, the villain's a guy in a suit again with the Widow program or something. Weird, stupid. I don't know. Soviet spies, whatever. Anyway. However, it's not necessarily all that bad. It's just boring. And because it's boring, C tier. C tier, right? C tier all day. All day with this film. Falcon and Winter Soldier. A lot of people don't like this. I don't understand why. Because, yeah, it's dealing with, Falcon becoming Captain America. But at the same time, it deals with a lot of stuff too. It's actually very interesting. It fleshes out the greater MCU. And I like that. While telling a really interesting and developing a great story. With, who is he? The, not Patriots. Who is he? U.S. citizen or whatever? U.S. soldier? I don't know. Whoever that new Captain America is supposed to be. The one who doesn't have super soldier serum mixed in with him and all that. Yet. Yeah. He's very compelling. He's the most compelling out of most of these phase 4 villains here, okay? Come on now. Also, we get Winter Soldier and all that. Their dynamic is fabulous as well. Falcon and Winter Soldier's dynamic is fabulous. It's a political thriller, but political thriller at its finest. The only thing I don't really like is this little girl who's like trying to take over the world now and like trying to take over trying to like have social upheaval because now there's, all the people who are snapped, they're coming back. Now they gotta give up their homes and all that type of stuff. It's just kind of, okay, we get it. Political commentary. Can we move on from this? Please stop with the annoyingness. Also, we get some more background with the super soldier serum in that, the Soviets tried to recreate super soldiers with Winter Soldier and the Germans with Winter Soldier and all that, and what the Soviets did as well, but Americans did as well. And in fact, they made another one with this African American fellow, and they touch upon racism, which is something that I didn't think the MCU would ever tackle, but they tackle it in this show, and I think they do it pretty well. This is coming from a white guy, a white cisgender, straight male. But then again, I think they deal with it pretty well, but I wouldn't take my word for it. I would take an African American's word over mine, but I think they deal with it pretty well and made me look at certain issues differently afterwards. Let's put it that way. But anyway, for the better. But anyway, though, I think this show is really good. It's not above WandaVision, but it's still really good. And I would put it above Daredevil Season 3 over here, because it's that good. It's that good of a show. I don't know why people hate it, but I love it. Moon Knight. I heard a lot of people really don't like this show. I'm not in that camp. Again, I love it. The only real bad part of it was the ending. The final episode was just a little bit too out there. It just went off the rails a little bit too much, like that kaiju fight in Egypt and all that. And nothing. There was nothing. No whisper of it in the greater MCU. Yeah, there you go. Other than that, though, I thought it was really good. I thought it was very, very interesting, especially because the afterlife is Egyptian. Even though the afterlife was kind of hinted at to be sort of a Black Panther type of vibe too, and then there's this other afterlife type of deal. There's a lot of afterlives in the MCU now, which I find to be very interesting. It adds to it. And this guy has multiple personality disorder and all that, which I gotta say, very interesting as well. All in all, I really enjoyed this show. I don't care if people hate it. I love it. And you can take that to the bank. Now, where do I rank it, though? That's a bigger question. It's not as good as Falcon Winter Soldier, but it's still A tier. I'm putting it in A tier. And above Iron Man 3. There you go. I continue to watch it through my MCU timeline thing, and I don't regret watching it. Some people may. I personally don't, because I'm looking forward to a Moon Knight Season 2. Get that on the banks, Marvel. Come on now. I'm kidding. Anyway. Hawkeye, the Christmas Hallmark show. Oh boy. And also, one of the worst end credit scenes of all time, with just an extended Rogers the Musical and all that. Now here's the thing. There's some good ideas introduced in the show. Hawkeye being a human and losing his hearing and all that, I like. Haley Steinfeld as basically the new Hawkeye, I really enjoyed as well. She's fabulous. However, and Rogers the Musical, I think Rogers the Musical was actually pretty funny, especially for the time and all that. But other than those three things, that's it. That's all the good that this show has to offer. It's very Hallmarky. Hallmark Christmas show. And I don't like it. It's just not good. It's very boring. They tried. Some of the action is pretty decent. I'll give it that too. Especially with that one scene that's just like the camera turning from like right to left and all, from right to left and all that. It's that, I'll give it to them. Pretty decent. But the story, the plot, it's boring as sin. The writing's just terrible. I'm sorry. The first episode had a lot of promise to it, which is why it's disappointing to see that it's just goes downhill afterward. And yeah, we got a Kingpin in this show, another Kingpin, because this is not the same Kingpin as Daredevil, the Daredevil show and all that. You can't prove otherwise. So yeah, it's just disappointing. That being said, it's not as disappointing as Ant-Man the Wasp, so I'm going to put it in a D+. If I can put it here. Here we go. D+. There's... hold up. Nope. We're putting it in C- territory. Because, again, there are some good aspects to this show. It's just the big things, plot and writing, are just atrocious. But anyway, there's that at least. And now, probably the best thing that Phase 4 had to offer. One of the best things. Werewolf by Night. Awesomeness. Awesomeness. Especially the black and white version. Do not watch the colored version, you cowards. Anyway. Black and white version of Werewolf by Night. Peak MCU, okay? For all of us who don't know, in between Captain America, I guess, and a couple other superheroes, and Fantastic Four, Marvel used to do a lot of horror books. And in fact, the horror books from that one little thing kind of divulged a little bit into Blade and all that stuff, which is actually kind of interesting. But yeah, Werewolf by Night is kind of taking those, I guess, characters from Marvel's kind of horror past there and bringing them into this one little short, or this one special thing. And I gotta say, I like it. I really do enjoy this thing. This thing's amazing. This thing's great. In fact, I put it just barely above Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. And I love Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. But this one thing is just absolute, chef's kiss. So with that, I'm putting it above Far From Home. But there's just others. Don't take this lightly, though. There's a lot of great things in the MCU that bogs it down for me. But yeah, this is just absolute gold right here. Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, I already mentioned it, but this is basically Hallmark done right. Basically a Hallmark original movie, but with Guardians of the Galaxy. Done in the best ways. Not Hawkeye levels of bad. But just the right amount of bad to it that's just very, very well done. And the jokes, gold in this special right here. There was one joke when they were giving out the presents and all that, and they were all opening the presents, that I was just bawling at. It was so corny and so stupid, but it was so cartoony that I did not expect it to happen, and I just bawled. It was that good of a joke. I watched that expecting that joke to happen, and I just laugh like that every single time I see it. It's so good. Other than that one joke, though, it's basically a Mantis and Drax special where they have to get Kevin Bacon and all that, and they had a ton of chemistry in Volume 2 of Guardians of the Galaxy. It is not let up here. It is not let up here. It's great. So, but that being said, I put it Werewolf by Night slightly above Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, holiday special, whatever. So I'm going to put it right here in A tier. But be that as it may, this is the best Christmas thing the MCU has ever made. That's including Iron Man 3, which is also here. That includes Hawkeye, which is somewhere. This right here. Yeah. Best Christmas thing they ever done. Amazingness. Eternals. A lot of people hate Eternals. This is the most critically panned MCU thing we've had so far, I guess. I don't know. And again, this is not peak Marvel. But this is something that Marvel hasn't really done and tried to do, which is like a really good film, I guess. Like they try to go toward the Oscar route, which if you've seen Disney animated films, Pocahontas was Disney Animation's run at the Oscars, and it wasn't good. But yeah, honestly though, this is pretty good in my opinion. Like the characters are really decent enough, especially Jenna Chan as the main girl and all that. Selma Hayek is in this film. Angelina Jolie is just sleepwalking through it, basically. But yeah, this everybody's just on really good. And there's the one of them that's like the Tinkerer and all that. He's gay, I guess, and it's just kind of brushed upon and just never mentioned again. And yeah, they don't really bash him for being gay. You just bash him for having a home life, basically, which I gotta say, good stuff there. They go to things that would make a lot of sense, why are all these religions around and all that type of thing. That's because they were there. The Eternals were there, just helping humanity throughout its run and all that type of thing. Just greatness. Why are they there necessarily? Well, that's because they're trying to cultivate humanity so that the new Celestial can be born from Earth. Granted, some things are stupid. I'm not saying that they're not. But things have been more stupid in other films. And the fact that a celestial coming out of the earth hasn't gained a whole lot of attention to the greater MCU, yeah, up to this point, is kind of interesting too. Not good, but still, you know. Some of the CGI is also iffy, like for instance, that stupid troll at the end credits scene with Patton Oswalt. Patton Oswalt's great, the troll sucks. Harry Styles as Thanos' brother? No, I reject that. I reject that at all costs. Harry Styles? No. Get him out of my MCU right now. Then again, I don't consider this an F. They tried a lot of things, and a lot of it was really good. A lot of it was also sucked. That's why I'm putting it in C tier. High C tier, though. Below Luke Cage, but right there. Which is kind of disappointing because it's supposed to be the Oscar MCU film, but it's not. It's just right there. It's disappointing, to say the least, but there you go. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Finally, we get the Mandarin in all of his Mandalorian glory right here. Awesomeness. Awesomeness incarnate. This is the only real character that's like, you know, original character film that's, you know, good, I guess, like a complete story from beginning to end. They got the comedy, they got the pathos, they got everything. They got everything in this film. They got the action, it's got kung fu in there. It's just amazing. Amazingness. Tragic backstory. It's got everything. They even fight a dragon. Why not? They fight a dragon in this thing. There's another other dimensional universe thing. They bring back Ben Kingsley back. And yeah, there you go. There's this thing without a face. That's hilarious. The only thing is, they don't explain how they can transport to this different world, or what this different world is, this pocket dimension. What exactly this is, I don't know. We should have that figured out in Avengers Secret Wars or whatever the hell it is, Kang Dynasty, I don't know. But yeah, there you go. Great film overall. They even got Awkwafina to not be super annoying in this film, which is shocking because she's very annoying. I find her very intolerable, but in this film, she's tolerable. So with that, another A tier. Below Black Panther and above Thor. There you go. Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. Surprisingly enough, there's a lot of A's in Phase 4. There's just a lot of C's in this era of Phase 4 as well, which is kind of a balancing act, honestly. But you know what's not a C tier? Spider-Man No Way Home, the direct sequel to Far From Home. Amazingness. This is I keep on seeing memes about this film being all like how it saved the film industry, which it kind of did because it almost broke $2 billion in the middle of a pandemic. So there's that. But not only that, I've seen a lot of memes about how Marvel was like, hey, we made Avengers Endgame, this big, huge ass film and all that. And then Sony was like, hold my beer. And they made this. So they bring in, spoiler alerts, they bring in Doctor Strange. They bring in a lot of the Sony villains from, movies past, with original Raimi trilogy, with the Amazing Spider-Man and all that. They bring back Willem Dafoe as the Goblin, and they get rid of his stupid Green Goblin mask and make him just go balls to the wall with his faces and all that. And I'm just like, I am here for this. Yes. Good. Awesome. Brilliant. He was born to be the Goblin, and it shows. My gosh. They bring back everybody. Well, mostly everybody. They don't bring back certain people, and instead it's just like sand, like the Sandman. He's just in full sand form because the actor couldn't come back, I guess, or something for some reason. And they also bring back the lizard guy, even though the actor wouldn't come back to be the lizard and all that type of stuff. And they bring back Electro, someone that was completely stupid in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but is awesome in this film. He gets a full redemption arc in this film. Awesome. And Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, they're back. And they get their final send-off in this film. Amazingness. I dare say it, Andrew Garfield's the best actor to portray Spider-Man. But Tobey Maguire will always be my Spider-Man, in my opinion. There you go. I said it. Anyway, though, amazing film. Oh, guess where it's going? S tier. Maybe it's nostalgia talking. I don't care. It's S tier. In my opinion, at least. And there goes the pooch sneezing. The pooch is just figgy. He's just going crazy over here. Anyway, we're finally getting close to the end. Let's wrap it up strong. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This is kind of a mixed bag. It gets very crazy, which is something that's good. But this is the first film in a series of these types of things that's just like, you have to watch WandaVision before you watch Doctor Strange. It's kind of imperative. And this is the first time that Marvel's actually kind of done this, because it's kind of bizarre. And it explains a lot of the multiverse stuff while also giving us a lot more questions. That being said, I really enjoyed myself watching this film. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun for me. I'm sorry. Wanda as like the evil person that's trying to find her kids in the multiverse. It's great. We get the Illuminati with Charles Xavier and John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I mean, come on now. We get the guy from even the Inhumans back as the Black Bolt and all that guy. We get Captain Britain in this film, even though it's very short. Still great, though. Still amazing. America Fiera, or whoever. America Martinez, or whoever she's supposed to be. I forget her name, but I know her name's America. She's great as well. Yeah, and I said it. There you go. And dare I say it, it's above the first Doctor Strange, in my opinion, because it just goes balls to the wall insane. It's the multiverse of madness, and it is literal madness. Okay? Zombie Strange. We get Zombie Strange, ladies and gentlemen. Or whatever the hell he is. He's like an evil Zombie Strange or whatever. I don't know. Hilarious. Awesome. It's got the Sam Raimi vibes that are just amazing. But it does have issues. I acknowledge it. Plot's a little iffy, but it could have been worse. We could have had Inhumans or the Incredible Hulk or She-Hulk, which we'll be getting into soon. Anyway, what if season 1 and not season 2, because season 2 hasn't come out yet, even though it's coming out fairly soon. But yeah, what if season 1? This is actually a pretty decent season 1. There are episodes that are better than others. It was kind of a mixed bag. There's just Party Thor. The Party Thor episode was kind of just meh. There's the Black Panther episodes that were pretty decent. The one really great episode was Dark Doctor Strange, which is a very, very well done episode. Probably the most compelling episode of this entire run, in my opinion. You also get Captain Britain. That's basically just Captain America, but Captain Britain. There you go. But yeah. Otherwise, it's a pretty decent show. The animation's pretty decent. Zombies, you got the zombie thing. It's pretty okay as well. It's a pretty okay show. And I'm going to put it above Eternals because it's just okay. It's not the best. It is certainly not the worst, though. And we've seen the worst. Thor: Love and Thunder. I unapologetically love this movie, okay? You can kick your feet at the fact that Party Thor is here and all that. He's more jokey in this film or whatever. He was jokey in Ragnarok, okay? Once you get past that, this is like child's play. What? Huh? Come on now. It's fine. This movie is not bad. Why is everyone saying that this film is bad? It is not bad in the slightest. Taika Waititi did an amazing job with this film. Is it better than Thor Ragnarok? No. Is it better than Thor Dark World? Hell yeah, it is, okay? People hate the fact that he's Party Thor. He was Party Thor in the third one. And you got over that. You saying that that's like the best Thor movie we got. The hell you talking about? Anyway, I love this film. There are some issues with it, of course. Yeah, it gets a little jokey. A little too jokey in some parts. I get it. Some jokes don't land, like the screaming goats. It's just kind of stupid. In fact, that's the most annoying thing in this film. It's the screaming goats. But other than that, really, this film is pretty good. This film is, dare I say it, A tier. It's below Shang-Chi, and I'll put it below. I'll put it above Thor. Yep, right there. Yeah, I said it. I gotta lower this, though, lower the thing here, because it's getting a little crowded in here, kind of, folks. But we're almost done. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. This is the worst thing the MCU has made in Phase 4. It is so not funny. It adds more questions than answers. And while, yeah, right, there is some stupidity to this film or this show, they do get the character right. They do, this person who's playing She-Hulk, she does an incredible job. If you read the comics, she's basically this person in real life. okay? It's just things that are not supposed to be rushed are rushed, and things that should be rushed are not. They focus on the worst aspects of it, and I don't like it. And it's not funny. The little thing with the Kevin Feige hat thing is like the creator of the MCU or whatever, and she's going to Disney Plus. That's kind of interesting, but how can she talk to the crowd? I know Deadpool, he's like crazy and all that, but how is She-Hulk able to do that? It's never really explained. And if I'm thinking about that, then this isn't that great of a show. So, however, and the CGI. My gosh, the CGI is atrocious. It is so bad. The stuff they do with Hulk is fine, but they already rendered that. They already had that. You can just copy and paste it into this show, really. She-Hulk, though, is just... There's some points where she's good, but then there's other points that she's just... No. Just no. So I'm putting it low D tier. This is below Thor the Dark World. Yeah, it's that bad, kind folks. It's that bad. Something that's not that bad, though, Miss Marvel. This show is so adorable. It's basically a mixture of the Spider-Man films mixed with Scott Pilgrim vs. the World in all the best ways. With an Indian flair. And you know what? I'm all for it. Spoiler alert, but I think Kamala Khan, she was the best part of the Marvels, in my opinion. There you go. But yeah, anyway, I like the way she finds her powers. I like the way she gets her powers. She discovers herself along with her powers. She's technically a mutant. Get a little thing there. And it's great. I think this show is chef's kiss. And dare I say, it's the second best show that the Disney Plus has made on a creative standpoint. Even though Falcon Winter Soldier is above it, I'm gonna put Miss Marvel right here. And that's only because there's a lot of great stuff here too. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I would say, is technically better, but I love Miss Marvel a little bit more. If I don't know, maybe I switch them up some days. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. They had the impossible task of having to replace the actor for Black Panther who tragically passed away due to cancer. And I think it works for the better. Or I think they did the best they could for what they were given and all that. It's not better than Black Panther in my opinion, but it could have been a lot worse. Namor, amazing. He's amazing in this film. He's probably the best thing this film has to offer right here. He's captivating. He's a mutant. All the things. And dare I say it, I love this film. I love the fact that we got this film. And the woman who played Black Panther's mother, both the kids, she got an Academy Award nomination because she's that good in this film. There you go. I'm going to put it above Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah, there's a lot to love. There's a lot to love. In Phase 4, there's just some bad and things that are not explained in Phase 4 that I just don't necessarily find that they don't need to be explained and all that. Anyway, though, Something that's pretty bad. Secret Invasion. Yeah, it's not good, especially the end. It started out strong, just like Hawkeye. It's just ended pretty abruptly and terrible, like Hawkeye. I don't know what the hell they're doing over there. But yeah, Secret Invasion is bad. Not as bad as Hawkeye, though, because at least they didn't have the superhuman Skrull, Emilia Clarke. So I'm going to put it low C tier. There you go. I can't really talk about that because it just makes me angry. Speaking of being angry, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the most sci-fi of all time. Holy crap. They introduced Kang to this world. Ant-Man can take out Kang, even though there's like an infinite number of Kangs now. MODOK, idiotically stupid, terrible CGI. My gosh, it's horrific to look at. The story is just stupid. The story's stupid. The plot's stupid. The writing is stupid. Everything in this film is just stupid. Terrible to look at, terrible to watch. The only really interesting sort of good thing is Cassie. I think they did her character well. And I liked Michael Douglas being all badass, walking with a bunch of his aunts and all that. I like that little aspect there. Other than that, though, it's terrible. It's just awful. Also, I thought the fact that, their atoms shrank or something, like they get closer and closer together, but they're past the point of like atoms now. What else are they made of? Nothing, not explained. And yeah, I was in the theater watching this. This made me not want to watch anything MCU ever. This made me want to not watch anything else in the MCU. I'm fatigued with the MCU now because there's just a consistent amount of bad that I'm just not excited for anymore. So with that, high F, but still, the first F tier. It ends pretty weirdly too. It ends really, really stupid. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, though, this is the swan song for James Gunn. There's this whole controversy and all that he had with his tweets, but he overcame them and was hired back to be, the Guardians director for the last time, and now he's the head of DC, so there you go. Guardians 3 is amazing. It's the perfect swan song right here. Gamora, she's not the same Gamora, but yeah, it's kind of worth it, I guess, to an extent, What else? Chris Pratt is actually good in this film. I forgot to mention in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, he's kind of insufferable. He's kind of a stupid idiot in those films, but here he's actually competent. He's actually lovable again. So there you go. Cosmo gets a bigger role in this film. It has to deal with, dying and all that. It deals with Rocket's backstory, which I thought was amazing as well. The villain is probably the most complicated villain we've gotten since Thanos, and even before Thanos. Probably Thanos, Loki, and then this guy, the Great Evolutionary or something like that. Greatness. Overall, this film is the best thing in Phase 5 and probably the best thing in Phase 4 as well. So with that, Phase 4 and Phase 5. So I'm putting it above No Way Home because it's technically better of a story. I don't want it there. I want it here. No, I don't want it there. I want it there. There we go. That great of a film. It's a great, fabulous film. The Marvels, I probably need to watch it maybe once or twice more times because I watched it once in theaters and I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, Brie Larson's trying, kind of, but the logic in this film is really stupid. I don't care about anybody in this film necessarily. The only one I really care about is Miss Marvel. She's the best one in this entire film, and she's actually giving her heart and soul to this film, and she's trying her hardest, but which is surprising because Brie Larson's got an Oscar, and she's not really trying in this film. I think I put it in D tier for now. That could change. Maybe could raise it to a C if I rewatched it. But yeah, it's not necessarily that great. And finally, I think this is the last one. Yep, the last one in the major MCU right now. Loki Season 2. Loki Season 2 was a lot better than Loki Season 1, let me tell you. A lot less filler. Betterness there. I still say it's B tier, but it's in between Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. It's so close to the release of it that I don't really want to give a whole lot of spoilers. But let's just say that it's a pretty decent end to the show. Let's put it that way. All right. Now we're going on to the extended universe. This is stuff that's not necessarily connected with the MCU, but you can put some connections to it in the greater MCU. So starting with Venom. This film is just so bizarre. It's so like early 2000s version of a superhero film. And it's probably the best quality-wise in this entire run of Sony Spider-Verse films, in my opinion at least. Oh, I forgot to add those. I'll add those later on. Anyway, but yeah, this is best quality live-action Spider-Verse film that Sony's made, but it's still not really that great. And it's probably mid-C in my opinion. I don't hate myself watching it, but it's still just not necessarily that great. Morbius is a train wreck. It is the worst thing I have seen in a very long time. The writing sucks. Jared Leto is awful. It is the bottom of the barrel, F tier. The worst thing right now that would compare to the MCU right now. Venom Let There Be Carnage. This is where it gets more fun for Venom, you know? I'm not going to put it in A tier. We're just going to rapid fire through this because my throat's hurting. But this is not the best. It's not A tier by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a lot better than Venom, the first one. It's a lot less stupid too. I'm going to put it above Black Widow because it's just that fun, but still probably C tier. There's that at least. Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man. Actually a really decent Spider-Man film, and I love it. It's a great origin story. It's the one that started it all for many people. Tobey Maguire's great. Everyone in this film is great. I can't list all of them. We got J. Jonah Jameson that kind of moved over to the MCU proper and all that. Great. It's a great film. Put it in A tier. Above Iron Man. Yeah, above WandaVision as well. Maybe it's nostalgia. I don't know. But still, great film. Spider-Man 2. even better than the first. It elevates it and then some. Asks the question, should Peter Parker be Spider-Man? And it works. So much, I'm going to give it an S tier. You've heard all of it. Again, I'm not going to go over it all again, but still. Amazing film. Oh, wait. I have to put it above No Way Home. Just barely above it. But yeah, anyway, Spider-Man 3. It's a pretty okay film. The only real problem with it is the Venom part and the new Goblin part where Harry's like in, has amnesia, I guess, and all that. So yeah, that gets a little bit lower for me. I still say it's a lot better than the Amazing Spider-Man films. I put it in low B tier, surprisingly, because the memes are meme worthy, let me tell you. Deadpool, hilarious film. A great, wonderful film. Delightful. D to the delightful. Not S tier necessarily, because some of the CGI is a little... yeah, especially for 2016. Even with 2016, they went cheap. They went really cheap because they didn't know what the heck this film was. But still a fabulous film. Great writing, great storytelling. I'll put it in A tier, but mid A tier. Man, A tier is getting filled up right here. Deadpool 2, a lot better CGI-wise. Extends the series to a greater elevation. I personally say it's a little bit better than Deadpool 1. Put it above Guardians. I'll probably put it right there. Yeah, Deadpool 2 right there. Amazing Spider-Man, the best Spider-Man. The best Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man film, but not better than Spider-Man 3. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a iffy factor there. I probably put it right here in B tier just because of the Gwen and Peter relationship there. I think they did that extremely well to the point where it overshadowed everything else. Everything else in this movie is just kind of lackluster. Amazing Spider-Man 2, my gosh, it's a train wreck. It's a mess. It tried to be the, I guess they tried to be their own Avengers, I guess. But it was lackluster and it sucked. F tier. F tier all day. All day. Plus, he's got new white eyes for some reason. I don't even know what the hell that is. I don't know why they had it there. But yeah. Also Hellstrom, which is technically part of the MCU. Also technically not part of the MCU. So I'm just going to put this in haven't watched because I haven't watched it. But it may be good, maybe not. I have no idea. But we'll find out later on. Alright, we got our last little bit right here with two films that I forgot, and I'm sorry about that, but yeah, and we, again, like I said, Punisher Season 2 over here, but we already rated that. Don't know how to get these things off, so we're just going to keep it right there. Anyway, though, onward and upward. Let's see if we can get a little bit more frame here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This film is the best thing that Sony, Spider-Verse, whatever, they've probably ever made. Other than Spider-Man 2, but that's neither here nor there. This film is spectacular. It takes Miles Morales, a minor character in, Spider lore, I guess, and makes a whole amazing, just spectacular film. And I don't think they actually started making this film when they kind of figured out what Kevin Feige was trying to do with the multiverse or whatever, but it kind of folded into itself, you know, it kind of folded into this whole multiverse story arc that Marvel is making and all that, which is kind of interesting, to say the least. But yeah, this is a fabulous film. It's basically this Peter Parker story, but Miles Morales and all that. Miles takes the Peter Parker arc and makes it his own, and it's awesome. His uncle dies, but his uncle's evil, so there you go. It's kind of amazing. And yep, I'm gonna put this one in. It's funny, it's charming, it's dramatic, it's all the feels. I'm gonna put it above Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, actually over Spider-Man No Way Home in S tier. And Across the Spider-Verse, they basically made this film as good as the previous film. It's just amazing. The only reason why these two films are even in the MCU is because there's connections to the MCU with other instances of, like, we seeing Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Death of Ben, and we see Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man a little bit. We see the Prowler. We see Donald Glover playing the Prowler, the actual MCU Prowler, and all that. It's very interesting. Very interesting. And plus, the jokes land as well. It's greatness. It's just greatness all wrapped up in a bow. Now, I wouldn't necessarily put it in S tier again. The only nitpick I got is that it's a part 1. And we got Beyond the Spider-Verse later on. But if that's the only thing, then this film is just right up in S tier. If it just stuck the landing just a tad bit more, in my opinion, then it would be in S tier. But it is the best A tier we got right here. It's going to be going right there. But yeah, that's it. That's the entire MCU ranking list. We got everything on this. And I can't believe we got something in the MCU that is in F tier. But it's in F tier, so there you go. But anyway, though, guys, what do you guys think? Did I rate it to the best of your ability, to the rest of your knowledge and all that? What do you guys think? Would you rate anything higher or lower? Probably Eternals. You probably rate that an F or something. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Comment and let me know. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. More vids come your way. And hey, take care, guys.